Son of a...
It was the early 1980s, and the arcade game Frogger was a popular game in the arcades. The game also proved quite popular on home gaming consoles like the Atari 2600, as well as home computers like the Atari 8-bit lineup, the Commodore 64, and the Apple II. While I enjoyed playing Frogger in the arcades in my younger days, I found the game a bit lacking on my Atari 800, even though there were two versions available. Parker Brothers offered a cartridge, Sierra Online offered the version on diskette and cassette tapes. Well, maybe the reason I didn't think it was that great was I knew frogs could swim in real life, unlike the sinking amphibian in Frogger. Luckily, there were two other options available for players looking for something a bit different. On the Atari 8-bit platform, there were at least two others, including Datasoft's Pacific Coast Highway, which I never really cared for due to its somewhat odd gameplay, and Preppie from Adventure International, which is the game we'll be looking at today. Preppie was published by American computer game publisher Adventure International, which was best known at the time for the Scott Adams adventure game series. These included such popular games as Adventureland, Pirate Adventure, Savage Island, and various others. Adventure International was owned by Adams and his then-wife, Alexis. Eventually, in addition to those popular adventure games, the company also branched out into arcade-style games such as Missile Attack, which was a clone of Atari's Missile Command, racing game Rally Speedway, and the game we're taking a look at here, Preppie. Preppie was developed by Russ Wetmore for the Atari 8-bit lineup of computers, and unlike most other games developed for game consoles and home computers at the time, it was not ported over to other platforms. As you could probably tell, the game borrows heavily from the gameplay of Frogger, requiring the player to move safely between multiple lanes of traffic and to cross a river by jumping from object to object. However, this is where Preppie begins to differ from the game that it is based on, as reaching the other side of the river is not where the action ends. Instead, the player must then grab a golf ball and return safely to the bottom of the playing field before continuing on to another level. Instead of controlling a frog, the player controls prep schooler Wadsworth Overcash as he navigates the hazards of his country club to retrieve golf balls. Wadsworth has been assigned to retrieve the golf balls at the country club and must avoid golf carts, lawnmowers, and other golf-related vehicles, then jump onto a canoe, a log, or an alligator to make it to the other side of the river, where he then grabs another golf ball and must return back to the other side. Now, some of the golf balls are on the near side of the river, so it makes it a little easier to retrieve them, and you only have to deal with the lawnmowers and the tractors and things like that. In later levels of the game, in a nod to the game that inspired Preppie, Wadsworth must also avoid a giant frog. Now, there are 10 levels in all, and the players receive an extra man when they score 8,000 points. Now, unfortunately, the game was developed in the 80s when it was still believed that females did not play arcade games. So most of the games of the time featured male characters and awarded extra men for reaching a certain score. Preppie received mostly glowing reviews from the gaming magazines of the day, and also proved popular with players, and later spawned a sequel named, oddly enough, Preppie 2. In the sequel, the Frogger-like gameplay was abandoned. Instead, the player roamed a maze where the object was to paint the corridors pink. The player also had to avoid obstacles like giant frogs, golf carts, and lawnmowers. The player could use their joystick button to activate a cloaking ability, allowing them to pass through the other occupants of the maze. Preppie 2 proved popular enough to spur plans for a third sequel called, yeah, you know where it's going, Preppie 3. However, the bottom fell out of the gaming market soon after the game was announced, and it was never developed. Adventure International went bankrupt in 1986, and Russ Wetmore in 2016 released the source code for both Preppie and Preppie 2. The code for both games is available for download on archive.org. As I mentioned previously, I preferred the gameplay of Preppie to that of Frogger. I found the gameplay to be smoother, the sprites and other graphics more pleasing to the eye, and the public domain music to be slightly less irritating. I still play Preppie on a regular basis to today. I hope you've enjoyed this look at Preppie, and I hope to see you back again for our next video. Thanks.